Welcome to the Mixorcist. You talking to me? I'm the only one here.
I like the hat. Is that a vacation hat? It's a great hat.
Yeah, man. It's like a...
Welcome to the Mixorcist, guys. Welcome, everybody. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Be having a great fall.
I gotta get this stuff off.
All right.
You know what? It's just hot. It's gonna be hot. It's gonna be uncomfortable. Nobody can see anything. Nobody can hear each other. I don't want any bullshit.
There's the man.
From anyone,
all right, guys.
Including me.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. What have you guys been up to? You guys been making music? You guys been doing stuff? You guys been playing with plugins? I haven't played with plugins at all. I have nothing going on. You know what I'm stoked for? Tomorrow, I'm headed to Niagara Falls, Ontario to hit the Frightmare in the Falls.
Awesomeness.
Which is like a, it's like a, what do you call it? Like Comic-Con or whatever, but just for horror movies. So there's like going to be 3 different Jasons there.
Ooh.
You got Ken Foree from all the 80s zombie movies, like, was it Day of the Dead? Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead, the shopping mall one. I
think he was in that one. And then the girl from Sleepaway Camp, which that movie haunts my dreams because someone told me, oh, you got to watch this movie. It's great. It's great. Did not see the ending coming. And now I can't. It's one of those things you can't unsee. But she's going to be there. So I haven't been in 2 years. I think it's going to be pretty sweet. Can't wait to see what's up. I went on an 80s craze. So I watched Maniac Cop. I watched Children of the Corn. I watched The Mutilator, which is probably the worst movie ever made. What a waste of a title. Like, best movie title ever. And I remember being like 15 years old, going to the local video store when everything was still VHS and seeing the cover for The Mutilator. And asking my mom, like, can we rent this weekend? And she's like, are you crazy? We're not renting that. Or I was probably younger than 15 because you had to be 14 to rent a restricted movie back in those days. So anyway, I finally get to watch it and it's awful. Like, it's really bad. Just terrible. If you have a chance, it's on Shudder right now. If you have a chance, check it out. But I've seen so many movies. We both watched, what was the one with Ethan Hawke? Sinister.
Oh, yeah. Sinister. Did that just appear on Netflix or something? Because that's a couple years old, but I love that movie. Yeah,
it just came out. Well, I just happened to see it on Prime or Shudder, one of the two. So I've been on like every October, I go on a binge. I go nuts watching movies. So I think we should talk a little bit about our favorites today.
Oh, yeah.
If you're down. And I think we got a plug-in that you want to do. So what you want to do first? You want to talk movies first? You want to do plug-in?
I don't know. What is our audience like? If we were streaming this live, we would know because they'd be going plug in. Or, horror
Let's do the plug-in. Let's do the plug-in then for those people who don't care about movies.
Timely manner, yeah. Because we'll just one and done this thing because it's the VP-73 from Black Rooster Audio. And if you know the product, the VP-73, it's like their Neve 1073. This is a special Halloween edition. And the Halloween edition, and I could show you the controls here, has an extra crank knob. Now this extra crank knob gives you 1 to 5 times the amount of gain as the regular VPRE. And this thing's on sale. It's actually pretty cheap, on sale only until Halloween. So like grab it now and then it's going to disappear. I don't know what else happens after that, but because I didn't have the first one, the main one. But this thing sounds great. It's just, if you leave the crank down at one time, so I think basically that's you're just getting the regular one. Right. This is where the magic is. But I got some Halloween goodness prepared here. Let me go to my screen, go back there, and let's check it out. I've got this thing on like pretty much every channel. And it makes a huge difference. It's like on everything. On some of the channels, I don't want to take all the time to go through it all, because on some of the channels it's just very subtle. It just makes things a bit louder, and others I'm like really cranking it. Like that scream there.
That's nice.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it makes you pretty happy. I'm going to solo up that scream, I think, is what I'll do. So because I just want you to hear the gain on here more than anything. Yeah, I think that's important. Right. So if we go here, and I just solo. Here we go. So I'm just going to put it back down to normal, like kind of where it was, like where it would normally be. And here's the sound we had.
Yeah, that needs a little something.
Like it was messed up before a little bit, but okay, check this out. You got to turn it down, of course, because it gets gnarly.
So for those of us without our own Scream track, what would this do to, let's say, drums or something else in your mix there, the synths, or where else did you find it was really standing out?
You know, it brings everything forward. That gain, even in normal mode, the normal plugin, it's just like driving a desk, like. And it will, and I found when, you know, if just like on the real deal, when you go too hard, you get that certain kind of, almost like, it's not a crack, but it's like a crispy, you know, it's really, you know, like realistic. And so it's just going to help you get stuff forward in the mix. I love it. So I put this on everything, and maybe I could, you know, if you're curious about drums, I'll show you.
Yeah, I'd love to
drums for a second here.
I downloaded their, because when you get their plugins, even the trials, you download the whole suite. I think it's like a couple hundred meg. And I noticed they have like an LA2A sim. They got a bunch of stuff that would really be worth trying, and their prices are really decent. So this could be a great way to get into some different plugins without, you know, if you like the classic gear emulation, but you don't want to, let's say, buy a UAD or something. Yeah. This might be a great place to look at.
Totally. This kind of quality of sound, I kind of knew that Black Rooster was a high-end company, so you get a really good sound. And for the price, this thing is like, yeah, I would grab it. So let's check out the drums. That's a little bit of gain, but actually, you know what? Let me just bypass the plugin. So you just hear what the raw track was.
Right.
And here's how it was set in the mix. Hear that? Just brings it forward a little bit.
Sure.
I think also, oh, the high pass wasn't on. So you could focus the lows a little bit because it's got a bit of that resonant hump. So why not? But check out when you crank it. Actually, before I do that, let's check out the high shelf, which is also beautiful. That's flat. Yeah, it's got it, right? So let's crank up the Halloween special control. I'm gonna. Well, actually, on 1 times, if I went all the way, hear how that's, you know, that's more than you'd use on a normal mix. But yeah, but who's normal, right?
Right. Although you could, mix that in underneath, maybe.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I like what it's doing to the kick drum sound.
Big fun to be had. Anyway, you know, you get the idea there, right? So anyway, your Black Rooster Audio, just go pick it up. That's my recommendation.
That's a great choice. That's a good one. All right, so we'll go light on plugins this time. There's so many things happening. Acoustica has got a couple things. They've released Gain Station 2. What did they put out the week before that? They re-released something.
They had a new one the week before that. They had Desert, which was the 60s Germanium. Desert's really nice. So
yep, it is. I was surprised at how good it is, and I think that's it. But they seem to be releasing way more frequently now, so keep looking to Acoustica to generate some new stuff. Softtube is starting to release some new plugins. They've got a new saturator out too. They're going heavy on the sales right now. I noticed they did have a sale on their Tube Tech. So if you've never picked up their Tube Techs, they're really good. Great suite. You get the compressor, the program equalizer, and the mid-range equalizer all in one package. And I want to say it's like a 50-60% off, maybe. Don't quote me. But go check it out. They're on sale. And who else is having some good sales right now? What else have we been noticing?
I'm not so sure about sales, but DB Quadro, if you remember that the company with the amplifiers, with all the circuits, they've released a new one. And it's called Jupiter. They named their amps after planets. So there was Saturn, Mercury. This one's Jupiter. It's based on the Bogner Ecstasy.
Ooh, that's a great amp.
Sweet.
Nice.
Yeah. And what else was there? Roland, if you're into virtual synthesizers, Roland have now put their JD800 into plugin format. So their the JD800, that's a classic synth, digital synth.
That's very cool. I've been doing a lot of songwriting lately, just as a challenge to myself on my iPhone. So recently got the 13 and popped a bunch of guitar sims on it to see how they've come along in the past 5 years. Picked up THD, and they release all these like sampled rigs. So they sampled like a Randy Rhoads edition Marshall. Holy smokes. Is that thing ever fun to play with? They just sampled a Friedman, what they call their naked rig, which I don't understand what the distinction is there. I didn't really read it, but the sound is just incredible. What else did they do really well? They did the Marshall Silver Jubilee quite well. So I've tried I've tried Bias, I've tried Amplitude, I tried everything out there, and THD's got to be one of my favorites, but we'll do some plugin reviews soon. We'll get back to business.
Oh yeah.
You know, you want to know something interesting? The best guitar modelers, especially, iPhone, they all make a desktop version. They're Italian.
Of course. DB Quadro, I think, is Italian too. And
there you go.
Nembrini Audio, I believe. Don't quote me on that.
Nembrini's another one. Yeah.
Nembrini's got this plugin it's a few years old. It's called the Lo-Fi. Holy shit. Is it ever fat? Like if you want, it's like low mids and lows, not subs, but just if you need to, if you need to thicken something up, right? The Nembrini's got some good ones. That Lo-Fi plugin definitely is one that I really like. So
why don't we talk movies? Just in the interest of time, let's bang people through some favorites. Halloween classics. When you think of Halloween, thinking of Halloween movies, what comes up for you? What are the ones that you think of?
The classic.
Let's do one. Let's do one each.
The classic films. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's the obvious list that we could just rattle off, but I guess I could start with the movie Halloween from 1978. Right, we have to start with that.
As a kid, every single year, I watched Halloween. It was on TV. Right? By the time I was old enough to watch horror movies, it was on television every single year. I never missed it. I love that movie. Donald Pleasance. Dude, that guy was the king. Apparently he was drunk through the entire filming, but it doesn't really matter.
You couldn't tell her.
So that's one. Another one that was always on TV every year was Friday the 13th Part 1 and Part 2. They would always come on. So as a kid, those were, because they invented the genre, right?
Yeah.
So I think those are two important films. What else would you put on your list?
Well, while we're quickly on the topic of slasher, and this wasn't on my list, but you gotta give it to Black Christmas, which predates Halloween by a couple years, I think. Anyway, shot in Toronto, by the way. I think we talked about this before. Know that. Yeah, I thought we got to go take a trip to the Black Christmas house. It's up there. It's up by the big cemetery by Eglinton, I think.
Mount Pleasant?
Yeah, it's right around when Prince lived in Toronto. It's right up there around where he lived. Big places. Path. Yeah, right around the Bridle Path area. Yeah,
which is like Lawrence and something.
Yeah.
Lawrence and Bayview, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would have been a big house. This was like a big fancy house.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the one in the movie, right? So, Black Christmas. But as far as a pick of that is a classic, but you got to go with The Shining for a movie. That's
always,
you know.
And let's not forget The Exorcist. I mean, that's the first one I watch every October. As soon as, you know, kids are back to school, leaves start to turn, I'm watching The Exorcist for sure. Just part 1. Never 2 or 3.
Would you like to leave a message?
I'll see that she gets it. Your mother's in here with us, Karis. Would you like to leave a message? I'll see that she gets it. I'll throw in, what about Evil Dead?
Oh, yeah, of course.
The funny thing is none of these are Halloween movies, right? But they're movies you watch at Halloween.
Evil Dead changed the game. You know, remember we were talking about the Steadicam and how Steadicam and The Shining and Halloween. There's that point of view perspective. Evil Dead, that was Steadicam was expensive back then, right? Now you could pick up a gimbal for way cheaper and it auto stabilizes. Yeah. But to get those shots back then, there was like one game in town, and they couldn't afford it on Evil Dead, so they basically attached the cameras to 2x4s. So that's what that is when you see the movie. It's like it's not smooth like The Shining is. It's like a little bit.
It's a little bumpy. So what else? What else is a good one? I think you gotta count Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's not scary, but it's a classic Halloween movie. It's always playing at the drive-in up here in town. What's your pick? What else would you choose?
You know, the one movie that scared me when I was a little kid was The Changeling.
Oh, yeah.
That's a creepy film. That is
a very creepy
70s.
film.
I think George C. Scott is the main dude. Don't quote me.
It is, yeah.
Is he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of 70s scary, The Omen.
The Omen. You got to go with The Omen. I had the book. I had what they used to call a tie-in novel, which was a book that was written from the movie screenplay. And so they always filled it with stills from the film, black and white, on the glossy pages in the middle of the book. And one of the plates that they had in there was the picture of the guy getting his head chopped off by the sheet of glass falling off the truck. And I was probably like, I don't know, 4 when I got this book. So I remember looking at it going, holy shit. I'll never forget that. So you got to count The Omen, and it's creepy. Like it gets dark at points.
The music creeped me out on that. The two movies were the music, like when I realized that, wow, music can really make you like shit your pants, right? It was The Omen with that the choir and shit. And of course the Halloween music, John Carpenter's theme to Halloween.
Totally. I mean, that guy did it all. He did everything apparently, right? So he's like, you know what? Screw it. I'll do the music too. Now, he was a musician before he was a filmmaker, I'm told. So it makes perfect sense. But that was a great theme song. Really haunting. And he did all the special effects. So the minute someone jumped out of the closet or something like that, he made the boing sounds on some synth or something. And it's an unforgettable score.
Oh, yeah. He loved it. He had a piano. That's it. It's just piano and synthesizers, I think, for the whole first movie. And he loved synthesizers. He said in an interview way back when, it's like, I like them because they sound huge, and they're not. Yeah.
And here's something interesting: is the Exorcist has no music at all, except for the very beginning and the very end. There's literally no music. There's a couple of like little sound effects and incidental things, but there's the opening theme, and then there's the closing theme. And they really punctuate the feel like at the end of it, but throughout the movie, there really is no music. So all the suspense that's created is created visually, which is fascinating because at the time that didn't really happen that much.
No.
At least not in horror movies anyway.
The other thing was in that movie is I'm thinking about the subconscious, like they show these faces, but only for like 2 frames. It just flashes. There's like this guy going
when we were in residence, we would try to get a VCR. We would rent like a VCR, you and I and the boys in res, and we would freeze frame it and try to advance to that thing to see what was in between, because we knew there was like this big demonic face when his mother's coming up from the subway station, but you couldn't see it. So we would rent a VCR and just pause it and like advance through the frames until we got it. And we looked at it. We're like, oh, who comes up with this stuff? I remember.
Crazy.
That's how we used to it. I guess it was better than studying. What other ones are classic? Nightmare on Elm Street, again, the first one, the 1985 version. Incredible movie. Totally a game changer, genre changer. What else are big? Classic horror movies you got to watch every time. What else is on your list?
You can get into the art house ones if you go a little bit early back, like Dario Argento's Suspiria. That's a good one. That's a great one. But now that we've sort of moved into the 80s, I would say Hellraiser's another one.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That was definitely a good one. I think you hurt my head real bad. What about zombie movies? Do they count as Halloween movies?
Sure, why not?
What do you prefer? So in terms of the mall one, do you like the original Dawn of the Dead or the one with Sarah Polley in it? Because that was a Canadian one. It was filmed up here in Brampton. Big mall in Brampton.
I watched those two back to back one night because I wanted to compare them. It's hard because you get attached to the original, the classic. And so some people are like, you know, any deviation from that, and they're going to be like, no, I don't like it as much, right? But it just depends what kind of viewer you are. But I think it's the new one's very valid, and it's like, would I say just as good? I mean, I don't know. There's so much time has passed. Of course, it looks better. The sound is better, right? Like, does it scare you as much? I don't know.
It's a good point. Although, when watching Day of the Dead, that was a Tom Savini movie. And the gore in that, because he was a combat surgeon, so he loved to do things that represented the horror of like the human body turned inside out. So there's some really disgusting stuff in the original Day of the Dead. If you haven't seen it in a while, go back and watch it. And also, speaking of Tom Savini, you got to go with Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter, because it's the one where Tom Savini really did up the effects. He did, I want to say Part 1, but not Part 2 or 3. He came back for Part 4, and the corkscrew in the hand, cleaver in the face effect, Jason getting hit in the side of the head with a machete and then falling over and sliding down the machete like a kid slides down a banister with the one eye popping in and out of place as he does it. That's probably the best gore effect I've ever seen back then or since. So amazing. That one has my vote for one of my top horror movies.
Now, Savini's known for, it's not CGI. A lot of these are before CGI, but even after CGI came in, he still prefers to the real deal, fake blood, and make the, you know, the latex and the fake limbs and all, like, just to do it real, like, because it looks better, right? It doesn't look as...
It totally does. I mean, he runs a school of makeup effects at this point. So he's the guy who, if you're doing it old school, he's the guy who knows how to do it. And dudes who carried on, like the guy who did Walking Dead, Greg Nicotero, was an apprentice of Tom Savini's back in the day. And is actually, I want to say he's in the movie Dawn of the Dead, or maybe it's Day of the Dead, or both. So he worked closely with Tom back in the early years. If you're into that stuff, fascinating history, go check it out. Get a copy of Fangoria magazine. I'm going to pick up some back issues at the Frightmare in the Falls.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe get some autographs. Yeah. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Now, you're talking about classics. If you want to go a little bit more forward, you can get into the, you know, those remakes of the Japanese horror films, like I guess The Ring probably being the central movie of that whole movement. The Ring is creepy as shit. I don't know how you felt when you saw it, but that's one of the few where I went, oh, this movies can still scare me, and I can still get in my head at night when I'm, you know, looking around the corner or whatever.
6 to 12 minutes.
Well, I'll tell you what, I got some titles for you, including One Cut of the Dead, which won one of the Chainsaw Awards last year or the year before. Oh. If you haven't seen that, that is, I want to say Korean, but I could be wrong. And then there are a couple of Japanese ones too. I think one's called The Audition. I'm going to get you some titles, and we'll do an all Japanese horror episode.
Oh yeah, that'd be delightful.
Maybe we can find some Japanese plugins to go along with it. I don't know. We'll see.
They're out there, man. We get the Roland plugin, right?
But we'll should do Italian
plugins.
We'll
play the Halloween theme on the JD800.
We'll do an Italian episode where we cover Italian plugins and Italian horror movies like Dario Argento and the other guy. What was his name? Bava. The last name. What's his first name?
Oh yeah.
He made, like, Demons was one of his movies. Disgusting. Disgusting film. So anyway, we can go by country. We can roll around by country. Canada's got some horror movies. Ginger Snaps was one of them. Yeah. What else came out of Canada?
That's a good one.
I know it was filmed in Canada. With Pennywise the Clown, the Stephen King one, that was filmed here.
Yeah. Well, see, a lot of films for viewers that are outside the U.S. and Canada, a lot of films, U.S. films are done in Canada when the currency exchange is at a certain rate, and it's just cheaper for like a film that costs millions and millions of dollars. I got one for you. Best horror film filmed in Toronto, American Psycho. Yes. Awesome.
That one. My favorite part of Toronto is down in an area called Lower Jarvis, and it's near the St. Lawrence Market, which is big. If you ever come to Toronto, you would know it. And there's some old buildings down there, right around Church and Front Street, Jarvis and Front Street. They're very distinct. They're hard to miss. And when Christian Bale is arguing with the dry cleaner because they can't get the blood stains out of his sheets, and someone comes in, he tells him it's cranberry or something like that, and he's arguing with the lady behind the counter, he walks out the door. That was shot right there.
Nice.
So we could even go on a walking tour of...
You could. So many movies.
I may have mentioned that before, but anyway.
Okay, so there was the remake of Flatliners.
Even Flatliners was filmed in Toronto.
Was the original, yeah. Okay, there you go. So both of those are in Toronto.
The opening scenes are at Convocation Hall, where you and I went to school.
Yeah.
Con Hall is where they try to pretend it's like a big medical building or whatever, so you can definitely spot a couple of familiar sights in Flatliners.
Yeah. And Possessor, that's shot in Toronto. That's a newer movie.
Oh, yeah.
Possessor's a wicked film, by the way. Everybody should see that one. That's great. There is it's one on Netflix called Shadow of the Moon. It's about this mystery killer that appears every 7 years or something and then disappears. That's all nice. Toronto. I was seeing all Chinatown, like restaurants I used to eat at. I'm like, well, I don't know what city they were trying to make it look like. That's because Toronto can substitute for any. You could turn it into New York or Chicago or wherever you want, right? That's. But they do it to varying degrees. Sometimes they don't hide it as much as others, right? So. Yeah. When
they filmed Suits here in Toronto, they really tried to make it look like New York City. Like all the cabs had to be replaced with New York City cabs and all that junk, but was filmed right in our downtown in our financial core. Yeah. But anyway, I got one more. Let's do one more Halloween movie. You got to pick one from the found footage category. I'm going to choose Blair Witch Project because it was the original.
Well, that's good. You got to pick that. I will choose the VHS series then.
Oh yeah,
VHS stuff. Those are I think very clever. I think they pick good directors. It's episodic, so you get a bunch of stories with each movie. So the VHS, there's a new one I haven't seen. I think it's like VHS 4 or whatever is out now, and I haven't seen it yet.
Yes, there is.
So there you go. So that's my homework for tonight.
So much to watch.
So what else? All right, what else is new though that you've watched? Let's just I wanted to mention the TV show Squid Games. The Squid Game, that's Korean and amazing show. There's a cool one called Fear Street, which is it's kind of like a comedy teen kind of thing. And the Fear Street series, there's 3 movies on Netflix. They're all good. It all makes sense. Yeah. It's like one big long thing. And I could go on and on and on because there's just so much. I saw a couple that just creeped me out just last week, but those we could talk about on our regular episodes as well.
We could. Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, we're just about up for time. So let's leave it at that tonight. I hope you check out that plugin, and we'll start talking about Black Friday sales. We're going to keep our eyes out for you, let you know when the big makers are putting out new stuff.
Yes.
And Slate just came out with a new one called Murder something. What was that called? I got to look that up.
Slate came out with a murder?
What was it called? It's called Murder Melodies. Murder Melodies.
Murder Melodies. That's awesome.
No, it sounds dope though. Here we go.
Chico, that's how you can really get creative with what you're trying to do. Murder on the beat, so it's not nice. I wanted to make something that was super easy to use, and it just had everything in it to completely change the melody.
It sounds like the same melody both times, but I'm not up on the kids' music.
So it's a joke. It's not a real plugin. It's a joke then, right?
Yeah, it could be. Who knows?
You know, anyway, a couple years ago, he did this one about Howie Weinberg in a box. They kidnapped him and they put Howie Weinberg in plugin form.
I don't remember that. That sounds good.
Your records, yeah. Maybe it's another one of those jokes, right?
All right, guys. Sorry to be silly. We just felt like being on the air with you in the Halloween season. We'll catch up with you soon. Follow us on Instagram and we'll touch base. And we love you guys. Thank you for following. We'll catch you soon.
Yeah, man. Happy Halloween. Enjoy. Go to Black Rooster, pick up that deal. You'll regret it if you don't. Ooh.
Yeah, I'm picking it up.
All right. See you later. Goodbye. Happy Halloween.
Later, guys.
From the Mixorcist.